That's a fuel solenoid. If you don't hear that, it means the engine won't start. It means there's a button pressed. So now you don't hear it. That's a big thing. Somebody go on the job and then the next morning you're like, what the hell is it? Why won't it start? It's not going to start. Now you hear it click.
How many times do I need to key it before I start it?
No, just one time.
Just flip it?
Now, if the switches get wet, these things are notorious for taking on water, especially if you pressure wash right in it. It's going to hold water. The contacts are going to close, and then you're not going to hear the click. Even though you unclick it, what the hell's going on? I can't release it. You'll have to take the cap off and dry the contacts out.
Okay.
The same with this. All of them have just two contacts in it, and when water, you know what I mean? When the water gets on it, it breaks the circuit. Correct. This is, you're probably going to never have this happen to you, only on the far side. It's open, it's exposed, just like this one.
Okay.
This is actually enclosed.
Okay, great.
So keep that in mind. So from there, you got forward, all the way down. You got neutral.
Okay.
And then you got reverse.
All right, so all the way down is full?
It is forward, out through the hose.
Forward.
Neutral, and then reverse, it comes back to you.
Got it.
The concrete basically just starts sucking on the concrete. You reverse the pressure that you might have on the hoses.
And when you start it, it has to be in neutral. Okay.
Sure. So on this one, they used to have a vibrator that's not applicable now, so it's just a dead switch.
Okay.
The fan's wired up to always come on, no matter what. It's always coming on. A lot of guys in the older models, they had them where you can turn them off and on, but this one is wired strictly open. Especially if you're in Louisiana, I suggest that even in the wintertime, you leave them on. Because what will happen is you'll leave it off for the first 10 yards, and you come back for the 20 yards, it'll be overheating. Because you forgot to turn the fan on. Shit, you got to stop the spider, let it cool down. Always leave the fan on. Always.
The control for the fan again is?
Sure. Okay. Yeah, but always leave it on. Yeah. Now, if you're up north and it was, 30 degrees, I'd say you can leave it off for the first 10 yards, let the machine heat up, and then go ahead and turn it on. But you're not going to be ever 10 degrees. 15 degrees. So, you got your stroke limiter here, and that revs up or speeds up your pistons. Slower and faster.
It's basically a knob.
Yeah.
You screw it in, and what it does is you lower the amount of flow of hydraulic oil that goes through the pistons.
Okay.
As you close it, it'll basically restrict the passage of hydraulic oil. As you open it, more hydraulic oil goes through it, and the pistons move faster.
How do I know when to open and close it?
Basically on your needs. It's on demand. Right here.
Right. When you're starting, I usually prime out about a click a second. It means the switch over 1, 2, 3. Anything faster, the water, it'll jump the concrete over the water as you're priming. Anything slower, it'll allow it to plug up and it'll push the water. What'll happen is it'll half moon through the hose.
So I don't think he knows what priming is.
Okay. Well, we'll tell you about that here later on after we get the machine. But this is as far as when you're actually pushing the slurry. We got a slick pack like a priming agent. Put it in there, let it sit for a half hour. It gels up. You throw it in there just before the concrete. Stroke it down twice. Let it suck it in the hose, and then you put the concrete right on top. And what that does is it coats and it's pushing the concrete pressure.
You mentioned that, or maybe you can.
Yeah.
So too slow, it'll half move. The water will stay at the bottom of the hose. Of course, concrete swirling, and it'll plug you. Or too fast, it'll jump over, and that'll plug you too. So about a click a second.
Jumping over again is what?
Jumping.
If you're going too fast, if you're stroking too fast, what'll happen is the concrete will jump over the water.
Oh, okay.
The priming agent.
Okay.
So if say for example you pump too slow on the priming agent will just go out on the hoses, but it will half moon it. But the concrete will come at a high pressure, and it'll jump over it, and it will plug you.
I got it. Okay.
Right. Harold, the agitator. We got the outriggers. We got the pump off. What else we got here?
Okay. So you got it in pump forward. So you got pump on and pump off. So once you got it in the forward gear, it's not going to initiate something until your ATOS valve, and that's your collective. And what it does is, right now everything's returning back to tank without this valve. That's the reason why you have the safety on top. If you had lost the switch or any electronics, theoretically you push that, and now you're pumping forward.
Okay.
So if your battery went dead, the alternator coughed up, without any electronics, you can put it forward, push that button, and you can keep going forward. Now you're not gonna, in the same way, just come over here and look. You see on top, the same way. And that's your ATOS valve for the forward and reverse on the remixer. Okay. So manually you can use a remixer.
This is the forward and reverse and all that. Just leave
Yes.
it alone, I guess. But
well, this is all on you. Usually a forward gear, and that spins it in the remixer and the hopper, and that spins it inside the mouth of the inlet, right? So if you're using reverse, it's pulling the material away, correct? So generally operators leave it in a forward. Now, if you're sitting for maybe 10 minutes and you're waiting between trucks, the key thing is to use it forward and reverse. So you can kind of mix the hopper up a little bit, add a little water, keep mixing it, and you can leave the concrete fresh. You know what I mean? That's the theory for forward and reverse. Not so much to use it while you're pumping. Usually it's just in a forward gear. Now you can use it in reverse. It's all up to you, whatever you choose. So you understand what your e-stops are.
yeah,
If you get your hand caught or something, the hydraulic system blows, you hit it and run away from it.
getting your hand caught happens.
Yeah,
In the agitator, yeah.
Yeah. Right. When I started with the company, there was 5-6 stickers. Now they're up to 58. So every time they get sued, of course, you're a lawyer. You got to add stickers. So
When I started, everybody had 2 hands. Now they got 1.
right. And trust me, at 200 bar, it'll cut that 4x4 in half like it ain't
believe
nothing.
it.
I mean, it ain't gonna stop with your hand.
I would never stick my hand
You'll be
anywhere
lucky
near
to
that.
tear your arm off. You'll live.
Yeah.
Usually it drags you right in it with it.
I would never put my hand anywhere near that thing.
Right. And that was the idea for the rake. Yeah.
It
You
has
put your
a
hand in the asset and you use a rake and it's without the concrete.
it has a safety switch for that, right?
Correct.
Well,
For
let
the
me
hopper.
ask you this. Is there an option where he can use the blowout? What's that blowout option they're offering on the newer ones?
Air's dangerous. We can watch videos on YouTube.
I've seen a lot. I don't want to mess with that.
It's pretty volatile.
The air blowout?
If you use chains and you chain it down, yeah, but you got to have guys staying away from it, and you don't want to screw that. It's too easy to push that with water.
Okay.
Use your machine. Now, in an emergency situation where the machine had broke down, it's probably not a bad idea to keep one on your truck, and you can use the truck air from the mixer. To blow it out.
I don't know much. I'm just a broker.
So the broker looks like he's going to get you killed. But okay, so on the general, the general engine, you see the horn. This is just for high temperature. If the belt had broke on the serpentine for the air induction, the horn would go off to let you know that the machine is going to melt down here soon.
Sure.
So
260 degrees. If it gets to 260 degrees, and you're gonna hear an unusual sound. Turn it off, yeah, and call us. The fucking thing is on fire. Call him. Now, what do you put oil into the motor? Now that we are in the engine part, what do you
so
put?
you see where the yellow designated? You've got the cap and the dipstick are yellow.
Yep.
So indicates where you take
Pour it
them
in
off
here.
The
and then
round,
chest it
yeah, you
here.
put your finger through it and pull it.
And you put a little funnel.
Funnel, yeah.
And you do it with a funnel. And
A quart works up in there pretty easy if you just hold a quart.
And from here is where you take it out to change it. You replace it every 250 hours.
Okay. How much do I put in each every time I place
Quarter,
it?
how many quarters?
In this one is 9 quarts.
9 quarts. So what kind of engine is it? 10W30? 10W30.
Okay.
The hydraulic oil is 8W46. If you ever need to remember, just look at your
It's on
videos.
tape.
It's on tape. 8W46 for the hydraulic, 10W30 for the engine, okay? And the filters, you can find them at Napa, you can find it anywhere. They're very, very easy to find. All right, Harold.
So you got your forward and reversing on your remixer. You know where that is.
Yep.
Your dual switching pistons here, and that just switches the rock valve. It switches it over from cylinder to cylinder. Has Edward explained to you how the
No.
principle works? Okay, so if the cylinder, the rock valve switches over, and if you can think of it as technical, is the far is a rod side, the closest is a piston side.
Okay.
So if I ask you operator side, which piston are you talking about? You're going to say the piston closest to me, piston side. And if I ask you, okay, is the piston acting up on the rod side, it would be the far side. So technically, if you had called not me, but say Schwing or somebody, another mechanic, they're going to ask you piston or rod. So you're going to say, well, no, it's closest to me on the operator's panel. Okay, then they know what you mean. So as a rock valve is in this cylinder, this piston is now pushing. This piston is now pulling. So it's drawing raw concrete into the cylinder. So when the rock valve switches over, now that one pushes. And that's pushing through your system. Now this one's sucking. So as one's pushing, one is always sucking. The rock valve's coordinated through the MPS, which is here. That tells it hydraulically where the rock should be, the proportion where the pistons are. If the rock valve should start moving bam, 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 back and forth, then your MPS would be bad. Because it can't find the location hydraulically, because there's ports here. These port lines tell the MPS where the rock is.
Okay.
You kind of have the principle.
Yeah.
In, okay, good stuff.
Hell no, you got to go home and watch this like 3 or 4 times.
I'm gonna have to.
Yeah.
So your outriggers are configured. As you let this down, the nose down, mechanically, you put these all the way down so they touch the ground. You pin them, and then now you jack this whole way up, and that gets the bubble
Don't
off
ever
the tires.
don't ever pump when it's on the truck. Take it off. Or
No, a lot of guys still pump with it on the truck.
okay.
Yeah. If you're going to be pumping big rock through 400 foot of 4-inch system, I suggest you pin it down.
Yeah.
Because it'll walk the whole truck over.
Yeah.
Now, if you're using like a Toyota truck, I suggest you pin it all the time because it'll tear the transmission on the truck. If you're using a 250, 350, you got no problem.
Yeah, we might have a 350 or an Isuzu MPR HD.
You won't have no problem.
Nice.
But maybe we haven't decided.
Nice.
Go with the Zuzu.
Yeah.
We'd like to.
Yeah. Those things
They're
last
weird to
forever
drive
if
though.
you take care
Weird
of
to
them.
drive. You ever drove those?
They have
Turbo?
no.
Yeah, the Isuzus.
Oh,
You're driving on top of the tires.
oh yeah. I feel like I'm on a boat, maybe.
Yeah.
But man, they got twin
Depends on
turbos.
the kind of condition.
Yeah.
You got to keep this in mind. If you're going to a lot of new construction, you're not going to be able to use this. You know, that thing is like a lead weight, 6,000 pounds of steel. You're going to fall to the bottom. If you're going to do new residential, then yeah, because you're always on blacktop. Kind of think of that. You're going to need the 4x4.
Yeah.
Trust me, that's like a lead sled.
There's not a whole lot of new construction in New Orleans. It's really people. It's kind of almost rotten from the inside out. So there's more renovation than new construction.
Okay, so if you're always on blacktop or hard
much.
pan, I would get these Isuzu. Perfect.
Yeah, we're in
You
the
do a lot
city
of historic
almost-
homes too.
Yeah, that's what he specializes in.
Yeah.
So we're in the city almost all the time for anything. They're not building outwards and building new communities out there. They're not. It's just rebuilding the circle.
Harold, you got a hell of a last name.
What's that?
You got a hell of a last name.
Lease?
Lease.
Yeah. It's L-E-E-S-E though.
Yeah. Lessee, leasee.
Lease. Okay, so moving on from there on the dual pistons, then you got your grease fittings. So this works on the dual switch. So as you can think, I showed you what the bearing is, and the same with the bearing in the front. As the shaft goes through for the rock valve, this is the nose bearing, and then you have the back bearing. So you have a grease fitting for the nose, and then you got a grease fitting for the back.
Grease fitting means that's where you put the
When you
grease.
connect the grease is gone.
Yeah.
Okay,
There's
so
another one right here.
Right. All red caps indicate there's
so
grease.
unscrew it, put whatever the gun.
It's actually you just pop them off.
Oh,
You just pop off,
and then just hit it with the grease and put it back on.
and then
That's
just put it back on. Right. It's just a dust cover. Yeah.
Okay.
What you want to do is you want to make sure that when you're greasing, you're pushing grout out. What's the main principle with that, Harold?
If you're like I said, if you're backing up 40s leaving and 50s backing up, just 2 pops. Because what will happen is it'll open that bearing and grout will shoot right in. So you don't want to open it up. You just want to keep the grout at bay. Now, when you leave the job, of course, Edward's right. You want to actually see the grease come out of the bearing, and that'll push the hard
So you
grout
say
out.
2 pops. What do you mean? Like,
Just 2 strokes, 1
Okay.
or 2.
On the grease gun.
these are the only places that I would have to do that. Basically here, here, and there,
And then on
here
the other
too.
side.
and there. Oh, and then the other side. Okay.
Yes.
So 2 pops before, and then after the job, how much?
You want to go about 4.
4?
4, yeah. And then,
Believe me, I'm going to be religious about that.
yeah, grease is cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can see what happens to a bearing.
Yeah.
That's just $400. So, I mean,
So those spaces here and here, and that's it.
right.
Okay.
Right. There's 1, 2, 5,
No,
6.
that's not good.
Yeah, it's RTD.
To not grease it is a $400 mistake, but that's a cheap one, right? Because if you don't grease, like the
Exactly right. That's
You explained
400.
it perfectly. I understand.
yeah.
Now, when you start getting into these bearings here, your a rock valve is $4,500. and it'll do the end of the same thing. The rock valve is useless valve. So you want to make sure grease is cheap. And a lot of companies here, you're always married to your machine. I don't know who's going to actually run this for you. Me. Okay, so then you got no problem. The boss man comes out. Hey man, my machine's not greased. I didn't run it last. Juan run it. Hey Juan, man, my shit ain't greased. I don't think I run it Wednesday. I think Joey run it.
We're gonna try and keep it lean.
Yeah.
It's just gonna be me.
One guy.
Yeah.
One guy. You know for sure it got greased.
Yeah.
And if I need help, I'm gonna be the one making sure. I'm still gonna be there. I'm never gonna be delegating this.
Right.
Yeah.
A Schwing's a little bit more forgiving than a Putzmeister as far as grease. You can miss when 40 leaves 50 backs up, and then you pump out 60 yards and then you grease it. It's a little bit more forgiving. If you stay on the system, I'm telling you 40 yards religiously. That way you always have a system in your head. You're always greasing.
The system is every time we pump 40 yards, I re-grease.
When 40's leaving, 50's backing up, you grease it twice.
Okay.
2 pops on every 50.
And 4 at the end.
And then 4 at the very end, before you leave the job. The reason why I say before you leave the job, because you come back here, say you're out away from the shop, by the time you get here, you start washing, you grease, the grout has already got hard.
So don't, even if I have 2 jobs in the same day, do it in between jobs. Definitely. I guess it's all the keeping the ground out.
Correct,
Yeah,
correct.
okay.
If you're going in between jobs, yes, before you leave, grease.
Okay.
Keep $2 a tube.
Okay.
Keep it running. Usually, you
I
got...
ask you repetitive questions for a reason, so I can make sure I understand it later on.
Yeah, most guys have 1 in the gun and 2 tubes in the back seat. Always. You get to the shop and you use 1 and take 1 tube and put it back in the truck. It seems like slick packs. You grab a sponge, a slick pack, and some oil, and for grease, it's food. So from there you got the grease, and then of course you got the trap door at the bottom. Evacuate everything that's in the hopper here. Take it wide open or hammer it, and all the fluid will drop out.
Okay.
Go ahead and wash out. Close back up, slam it once, and you're ready to set for the next day.
Do it after every single job, though, right? After every single job, don't wait. If we have 2 jobs in a day, don't wait till the end of the day to do that. Do it as soon as you finish work.
Yeah, as soon as you finish work, you're going to dump the hopper, you're going to wash out everything that's left on that job. You came clean, you're going to leave clean
That's our plan.
on the job. Same with the water box. You're going to drop that every job. The slush box where the pistons are at.
Yeah.
That's the water box.
That lets the water out.
Oh,
You're going
okay.
to do this every job.
Got it.
Like I said, you came clean, you're going to leave clean.
Spray that out too?
Right. And let the customer pay for that. There's no sense of you come back to the shop and now you got to lump it. It's their shop. You know what I mean? The grease, the oil, the concrete. Pretty soon, you do a job a day. In 2 years, you're going to have 20 yards of concrete in your shop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Leave all that in the job. Give me 1 second here. Let me get a drink. See it? Come right through here. See that little yellow handle?
Yes.
Okay. So every machine is pitched a certain way.
Yeah.
So this machine is now pitched that way. So this is before you leave your where you're going to be storing it in the morning. Of course, the water and the oil have separated, just like if you shook it oil in vinegar or salad dressing, and you let it sit in your refrigerator, it'll start separating. Then you got to shake it again and pour it on your food. Same as water in the oil. And how that happens is as you can pumping, feel it. It's warm.
Yeah, I imagine so. Oh, yeah.
So what happens when this machine now cools, you get condensation that forms just from it getting hot and cold. Even though there's no breather or no open orifice, it'll actually condensate. So it doesn't take much. Maybe a half a droplet a day. Well, you times that 360 days, and then you got now a pretty big puddle of water. So once a week now, you're going to drain this water off.
Once it's
not a
cold.
lot. Out of a water, a little 16-ounce water, the cap size, 1 ton.
You drain it by hitting that yellow.
Yes, you just open it and close it real quick.
Okay. Once a week.
Once a week, right. And that'll keep the water. Like
I
I
need to
said,
make a checklist, I think. Like, do X, do Y, do Z. It'll be real simple. Laminate it, put it on the side of the machine.
Yeah.
It'll be fucking golden.
Yep.
so you'll do this once a week.
Okay.
And that'll keep the condensation off of you. Keep in mind the system is closed. The only way you can get water is if those packings go bad on the diff cylinders, moving back and forth. It's sucking water every time it draws water in because there's standing water in there. Or somebody puts water in your hydraulic system by putting a hose in there.
Yeah.
But the system stays closed, so there's the only way now if you don't have those present, then the only way you can is condensation. So you need to leave that off.
Where is it on this side? You said if I pressure wash, I'm going to cause an electrical problem on this side.
On this side here, your side.
Yeah, yeah. So where do so I need to take this off.
There's a connector in the back. You'll see it. If you look up there and look, you'll see how it's connected. There's one main screw. You unscrew it, and it locks off.
Okay.
It's kind of a shitty design on their part, you know, and you're not going to get a long-term life out of them. You know, usually about a year and a half. What a lot of guys happens is they'll twist the wires together and leave it there, and then now that system's dead. But if you're over here and say your hand got caught in the switchover, you have nothing to hit. You know what I mean? It's just going to keep whacking it until you knock your fingers off.
And you caught in this?
On the switchover, yes. As this thing's moving now, it doesn't move much.
This.
Right.
Okay.
It moves about a half an inch. But it's enough to.
Fucking hand on that, trust me.
Yeah, it's enough to smash them. Trust me, I've lost a couple of fingernails doing it. So.
I'm not doing anything that can jeopardize my fucking fingers. But painful part of your body.
These stops are there for a reason. My point is, so as they go bad, you need to replace them. They're kind of expensive. They're $74 a piece. That one on the far side is about a $400
Cheaper than
one.
a finger.
Yeah. And then from there, you got your induction lines, your battery here, the fuse that stays for the fan, and there's another fuse that stays for the trailer brake. And this breakaway brake here is so if the machine gets away from you, it pulls the brakes on the trailer.
Okay.
And that way it doesn't go whipping across 4 lanes of traffic and run over to some lady in your suit. So that's what that's for. So anyway, as stuff breaks, you need to fix it because pretty soon you get way overwhelmed. Oh shit, what do I fix now? You know, because you got 1,000 things to fix. So you got your oil filter, your fuel filter, and then now you got your air filter for the motor. And this is at 250 hours, machine hours. You're going to replace this. The same with the hydraulic filter here. You look in here.
Yep.
See that white filter with the friction gauge on top?
Yep.
Now, if that gauge exceeds into the red, you change it before 250 hours. If it stays green and you're changing service in this motor, go ahead and do it anyways.
If it's in the red while it's running, not
Why it's running, correct,
yeah,
correct.
yeah.
And this is before you leave the job, because remember, it's going to be high restriction because the oil's cold in the morning. So if you see it in the red in the morning, it's not a true accurate. As the machine gets warmed up and hot, then it's a true accurate.
I saw you warmed it up for a while, or at least maybe they did before you got here. Oh no, you did it.
Yeah.
How long did you warm it up for, and why that long?
For a test, because cold oil is hard to compress, and we won't get our operating pressure that we like to see before it leaves the shop here. Normally on a job site, warming up isn't so much a need, because what you're going to do when you get to your job, usually here we get to the job an hour, and about a half hour before the concrete gets there, I turn the machine on and let it idle, just at a low idle.
Okay,
but the oil's always moving. It's always moving.
That's what I needed to hear. Yeah.
So what I did was I speed up our process. I let it pump for 5 minutes versus us waiting for a half hour, 35 minutes.
Okay.
If it idles, you know what I mean? I just sped up the process.
Sure. How much the fuel? How long can it run before I need to refill it? And where's the fuel gauge?
On the other side.
On the other side, yeah. Now this is kind of a gray area. Now it's going to go on how many yards you pump. Now if you're pumping at a 4 or 5 inch slump, real tight mud, it's not going to last you as long as if you're pumping wet like a lintel. So it's a 20-gallon tank. It should last you about 100 yards, theoretically.
Okay. 100 yards.
And I showed you the manual settings. This is for forward and reverse.
I have to put cocoa in there, whatever fucking. No, I'm kidding.
And I left you a clear gauge. If you got any contaminants or something, you can kind of see what's going on. You know, versus 2 hard canisters, you can't see nothing.
What's it gonna look like if it's contaminated?
It'll turn black, or
brown.
you can see the water in the bottom. You'll see like a clear milky. Yeah.
Okay.
Pick it off there, and you got to find out why you're getting water in your hydraulic system. I mean your
Fuel system.
If you're pressure washing too far away. Now there is a breather hole in here, as you can see, and that keeps the condensation out of it, so you can still see it. See a lot of guys pressure wash and boom, put water, dump water right into it. You know what I mean?
It's gonna be.
So, and I told you about the machine heating up. You do see one servicing belt. There is a belt here, and you're gonna check in just like a car. You know, it's for every inch. If there's 10 cracks, you replace it.
Yep.
Just like a car. Simple V belt. Any questions?
All done? For the most part?
I mean, I can go into pretty good at with you. I mean, a lot of stuff you're not going to understand. A lot of stuff I overwhelmed you on. I mean,
I don't know enough to ask any more questions at this point. so I think we're done with that at least. Unless we turn it on and watch it. See the fire, the water fire away.
But the system's broken down into 3 parts. You got your main drive pump that runs into a brain. That's where you're forward and reverse. Technically, it's called S1 and S2, and it controls which way the fluids. From there, it needs a direction, so that's where the MPS manifold comes out. It's multi-port sensor, and that tells where the pistons are in relation to the rock, and that tells the brain what to do next. So, Putzmeister does it electronically, whereas Schwing uses it hydraulically.
Okay. What do you think's better?
Hydraulically. Less to go wrong. Putz is okay on a trailer pump and a boom pump. They're 2 different monsters. On a boom truck, I don't know if you ever seen a boom truck, a concrete boom truck. Okay, so you see the hose, boom, 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 boom. That's where you see the boom, boom is where the rock valve is actually switching from one piston to the other. You've got the dead spot because at some point it's got to stop and remember what to do, and then now switch over and complete its travel. So you get that boom. Well, the faster you pump, the bigger the bounce gets. So if you're trying to do 200 yards an hour, well, the hose might be over your head bouncing. Boom. Well, you can't operate that. So the whole point is to get that switch over just about all the way to this travel, and now the rock is starting to switch. So Putz and Schwing have always been fighting over who's got the better technology to do this. It's a Ford and Chevy.
Ford.
So one German thinks it's electronically is the way to go, and another German thinks hydraulically is the way to go. Hard to say. Loaders use both, excavators use both, and everybody's fighting for the
better system.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So
What's wrong?
yeah.
Let me go.
So you got your accumulator, and I don't know if you know what accumulator does.
No.
You're going to see this. That's your stored energy.
Okay.
So what I did was, the accumulator system is stored energy on the rock valve. So if you can think, this little pump now is running your switchover. This is the switchover for the rock, back and forth. So what it does is it builds up 200 bar, or if you're non-German, almost 3,000 psi. It's holding that. It gets a cue to switch, boom, it uses 3,000 to switch over. Now there's a principle in an equation in a device to keep it from using 3,000. There's another MPS manifold that keeps the rock valve moving only what it needs. Because if you kept using 3,000, 3,000, 3,000, you're going to heat the system up real quick. So it only uses what it needs. But it's capable of using 3,000. That's my point.
Okay.
What it is this little pump now runs at 100 bar.
Okay.
Now a gas bag with an inert gas, nitrogen, runs the other 100. So we pump that up at 100, and you have this pump pushing against that bladder at 100. Now you've got 200 bar, cheap energy.
Okay.
The only downfall is there's more working systems to go wrong. In the 80s and even in the early 90s, it was called a single circuit, and there was no accumulator present. And they were pretty efficient, only they didn't switch real fast. They were real sluggish. Now as they've come into the 20th century, 21st century, and everybody's using accumulator.
Okay.
But there's more working systems, and it means the price goes up on the pumps too.
As I can see.
And your accumulator here, it's under. Real dangerous. I don't suggest you ever touch it. Bring it to me and work on it. But that's your bottom down there.
I'll never touch it, I guarantee you that.
That Delta flight 99 that went down, where the air bottles went off in the belly, accumulator pumps.
Don't tell me I gotta get in the plane later on.
Well, they don't now. They ship them to me in pieces, and I got to put them together here. They won't ship them at all now. So that's what happened. Only back then in the 2000s they were using nitrogen. They're using inert gas now. Nitrogen. So even if it blows, it doesn't blow apart. So when I bled that down, I wanted to show you. Now you're going to see this thing snap off.
Yeah, so
Okay, so the point of where it snapped off at about 100 bar, that's how much pre-tension gas is left in that bottle.
okay.
That's what you know. So you're going to check this once a month.
Okay.
If your bottle gets low or the bladder gets damaged, well, the only thing that
How do I check it?
just like
Like
you did.
that.
Oh, just make sure it works that way on the gauge here.
On the gauge, right?
Okay.
And you're going to see it. It's like a car tire. If you don't use the machine once every other month, it's going to get lower because just like a car tire, it'll get flat if you don't use it.
Okay.
If you use it every day, after about 3 or 4 years, you're going to notice it ain't at 90 or 100 no more. It's at 40. And then another year will go by, and then it's going to be at 20. Well, by then it's going to burn your pump up because there's no more gas to make up the 100 bar. Now the pump's got to do it. Of course, the pump can't do it. You can do it for a while. It'll do it for maybe a week or two, and it'll finally burn it up. You'll look under there, and it'll be black.
Replace it. Yeah.
Right. So you're going to check this once a month.
All right.
All right?
So we'll run it now.
Sure, sure.
You have to twist it.
Oh, twist it.
There you go. Twist it. You can do it now. Put it forward, and you're going to rev it up. You're going to bring it 25 RPM. You're going to leave it there, always.
25, 26.
Always. You're going to turn the pump forward.
Wait, what do you mean?
That's the volume control. Remember how much strokes per minute.
Put it all the way in. So to put it on, it's not going to move. You start breaking this like a valve. Start turning it out. You'll see the piston start moving. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you why. Because
I gotta get some hearing protection.
so the motor runs straight. It runs right. A shaft runs right, and there's no transmission. It runs right off into the main drive pump. From there, you run the accumulator pump. From there, this is a cleaner, and then on the back is your accumulator. This cleaner has to run at a certain RPM because it won't clean and cool efficiently. So if you trace this line, it runs to your filter, to the air exchanger, and right back to tank.
Okay.
If you lessen the RPMs, it lessens the cooling capacity.
So this has always got to be, you didn't twist this at all, you pretty much just pulled it straight out?
If you press the button, there's an override. You press the button, it comes all the way out. If you don't, you have to screw them in or screw it out.
So it works both ways.
If you press it in, right, correct.
Pretty much just do it this way then.
Right, and then there's a locking mechanism. If you screw this all the way shut, it won't let it go anywhere.
Why would I do that?
A lot of times, operators want a certain RPM and only the certain RPM because they're counting strokes.
Yep.
So if an operator knows if I get 15 strokes, I'm getting 1 yard out. I don't want nobody to touch it after I get it set. Nobody. So I can clean it off at the end of the day, put it away, clean it, and it does never be touched. So that was a lock, what was designed for the lock. I probably run across maybe in my whole, 35 years, 2 people have used a lock that I've ever seen.
Yeah, I just think it's something to avoid. Yeah, I'm gonna be the only one using it.
The valve that you've seen at the bottom of the E-tooth valve is your main pressure. This is something for I would set. You won't never screw with that ever.
Okay.
Ever.
I'm probably not going to touch a whole lot of these things if I can avoid it. I don't know what it is, especially. Yeah.
Now, I can duplicate this same theory without pumping any concrete, and I'll show you. If you look in here, you're going to see a full reversing valve, and not only that, you're going to see a petcock, a cutoff petcock,
Yeah.
and it's going to have a handle. I'm going to turn the handle straight up. I'm going to start it.
Pensé
No,
que...
there's water. There's water coming in.
So there's some systems that you won't touch, but I want you to be aware of them because a lot of guys, I've seen those washer machine, they do the same thing every day, day in and day out for 5 years, and didn't know about any levers, and some asshole came along and hit an e-stop or pressed the lever over and walked away from it, and then you're in the job tomorrow, hey man, this thing won't pump, but it's pressuring out, what the fuck, you know? So it saves you from a phone call.
I appreciate it.
I know there's a good practice. Now remember, you never stroke this thing without any water. So before they left their plant, they would fill up the water box halfway, put just a wee bit of water in there, maybe 5 gallons. Start it up, let it stroke twice. Okay, now you know it, the thing will pump. You go to the job, hook all your system up, add all your water, and now you're good to go. That way you don't allow yourself to get to the job and notice, oh, it doesn't pump. Now what do? No tools, no hammer, no nothing. Now you're screwed.
Got it.
And with
So-
concrete on site.
Yeah. Chances are you run late to the job, yeah. You now don't pump, and the contractor's going to want it at your ass. You know what I mean? Hey man, you need to pay for that load of concrete. That's $1,000. 10 yards. So right. So you before you even leave your shop, just stroke it, once or twice in the shop. Just make sure there's some kind of lubricant so it can, lubricate itself while you switch over.
Okay.
Is there anything you can see that you want to point to? And
I don't know enough to ask an educated question.
however, pumping concrete, I wish I could help you, but it's all going to go on practice. I mean,
Yeah.
I can talk to them blue in the face, and you won't know until you're out there. You know what I mean? You're gonna prime out like we discussed. The machine, you're pumping. You count 6 strokes, and then the machine starts pressuring up. Turn it off. I go, man, I've got no concrete at the end, so you press on the hose. It's gonna get hard. Well, the plug's there. Soft here and hard there. And a lot of times the machine will fool you. You'll press and press and press and press, and boom, it's in the reducer. Because something in the grate got big and then tried to go small and locked you up. So it's all about repetition and being out there and pumping. I can guide you, but really it's hands-on. If you got somebody that knows how to pump, I suggest you hire them for a job or two.
Just thinking that get somebody to sort of babysit me a little bit.
Yeah. Just give you the highlights. You'll put your hand here, put it there. Always verify 0. That's the reason why the reverse is. You got to plug in the hose. You don't bust the clamp loose. You put it reverse. Let it stroke once. Get the pressure off the system. Bust it open. Shake it out. Put it back together. Put it back in forward. And keep pumping. So reverse.